Alright, well, nobody asked for it, but here it is anyways. All soundtracks, no bullshit. So these are just shitloads of soundtracks that I've been listening to, or some of them recently acquired. This is the Death Waltz reissue of Giuliani Sorgini's excellent soundtrack to The Living Dead at Manchester Morgue. Absolutely fantastic. Highly recommended film and the soundtrack. Next up, from Francesco De Masi, the soundtrack to the apocalyptic future vision, Fuga del Bronx. Absolutely excellent. Love these Italian futuristic dystopian exploitation flicks from the 80s. This one's excellent. Also reissued on Death Waltz, Fuga del Bronx, Francesco De Masi. This is a soundtrack reissue on the Four Flies label, which is an excellent reissue label. They've only been doing it for a couple of years now, I think. This is an Italian cop flick called Milano Trema, La Polizia Vuole Giustizia. I don't know, the police and something and justice, I don't know. From the brothers Guido and Maurizio De Angelis. This is excellent stuff, funky cop stuff. Let me see, a lot of times they've been putting posters in these, but this one they did not. Recommended, Milano Trema. Here's a recent reissue on Death Waltz to a little heard of giallo flick called My Dear Killer, soundtrack by Ennio Morricone. This is excellent as well. Italian title there, Mi Caro Assassino, or My Dear Assassin, or My Dear Killer. Recommended if you dig this kind of stuff. Next up, another Four Flies Police, Polizio Tesci soundtrack reissue. This has got a long title. Si può essere più bastardi dell'ispettore Cliff, from Riz Ortolani. This is absolutely fabulous soundtrack. I think this one might have a poster. Yes. So a lot of these reissues are coming with posters, which is really killer. Stars Ivan Rasimov. If you know a lot of Italian movies, exploitation flicks from the 70s and stuff, you'll know who Ivan Rasimov is. Excellent. Very funky, very killer cop funk LP there. I'm afraid this stack is going to tip over any second now. Hang on a second. Sorry. There we go. Just have to reach further. Pardon me. It's hot in here. It's starting to get Arizona summer. Alright, another Polizio Tesci reissue. This one on a lesser known reissue label that's fairly new. They've only done like 6 reissues sub OST. But this is just a killer soundtrack to a flick called Roma Violenta. Music again by the brothers Guido and Maurizio De Angelis. Absolutely fantastic. Roma Violenta. Recommended if you're a fan of cop funk, Italian exploitation cop flicks. There's a lot more where that came from. This again is on the Four Flies. This is again from Guido and Maurizio De Angelis. La polizia incrimina la legge a salve. Just killer. Franco Nero is in this one. And no, there is no poster with this one. But there is an OBI, which I'm going to attempt to get back in there. Yeah. Recommended. All of these are recommended, damn it. Every last one of them. More Italian cop funk. This one from one of the top two. There's two guys that are absolutely the shit when it comes to Italian cop funk. Franco Michalizzi and Stelvio Cipriani. This is Napoli Violenta on the Spettro label. Numbered out of 500. This is number 105. Absolutely killer. Gatefold. There we go. As I said, I don't know if I said, Maurizio Merli is the star of this one. These are just freaking great. This is a library LP. Music by Enrico Pieranunzi and Silvano Cimenti. This is a reissue on plastic. This is the soundtrack to a film called Milano Violenta. I think there's a little poster in here, yeah. So this is frickin' killer, another Italian cop flick. Just killer. This one I've had on CD. A lot of these I've had on CD for frickin' years. And just, you know, the reissue craze is allowing me to get them now on vinyl, because originals are just ridiculous and you never see them. So really pleased to get this Milano Violenta soundtrack reissue on on plastic records. Another Franco Michalizzi cop funk killer album from a film starring, again, Maurizio Merli, Italia a mano armata. I believe that means Italy armed to the teeth or something like that. Again, numbered. This is 118 out of 500. Absolutely killer. Franco Michalizzi is the absolute king. Recommended, as I said. Do I need to say it again? Probably not, but I probably will. So this is freaking killer. I was so excited when I learned that Death Waltz was going to reissue this, which they did, I don't know, I think 2 years ago now. This is an ultra-violent Italian crime film called Contraband, directed by... oh, come on. Lucio Fulci. So not a horror flick from Fulci, but with all the gore of his classic horror flicks. This one stars Fabio Testi, and what would be a Fulci film without a soundtrack by Fabio Frizzi. This one is absolutely killer, with a great disco scene number called You Are Not the Same. Excellent. The hits keep coming. So Nico Fidenco is another great name from Italian soundtrack film. This is the Dagored reissue of Black Emanuel Orient Reportage by Nico Fidenco, starring Laurie Gemser, of course, as Black Emanuel. Just killer. Nico Fidenco is great, and all these Emanuel soundtracks are awesome, and that cost you a couple $100 for originals, which A, I never see, and B, I can't afford, so yeah. Alright, next up is L'Occhio nel Labirinto another Italian sort of crime flick with music from Roberto Nicolosi. Excellent, excellent jazz. This one's more jazz oriented. Again, reissued on the Four Flies label. L'Occhio nel Labirinto. I don't know what that means. Obviously, Labirinto is labyrinth. L'Occhio, I don't know if that's maybe eyes of the labyrinth. I don't know. Who knows? Moving along. This is a soundtrack by Piero Piccioni to a mid-60s film starring Marcello Mastroianni and Ursula Andress, called The 10th Victim, or La Decima Victima. Really cool, kind of strange, futuristic film with a great, great soundtrack from Piero Piccioni. Reissue from the late 90s or early 2000s on the Easy Tempo label, which, if you've followed my videos, you'll know is one of my all-time favorite reissue labels. Here is another recent Italian crime film. I don't know, actually, recent, semi-recent. I think it's from 2015 or 2016 on Cinedelic. Che il pomeriggio maledetto. Another sort of ultra-violent Italian crime film starring Lee Van Cleef. This one with a soundtrack from Stelvio Cipriani. This is just freaking great. Super funky, super killer. Highly recommended. Quel pomeriggio maledetto, excuse me, on Cinedelic. So I believe this was an Italian television show, possibly. La Famiglia Benvenuti. And this is a soundtrack reissue on Four Flies. Music composed by Armando Trovaioli. Let's see if there's no poster. But this is freaking killer. This is just amazing, laid-back Italian lounge, easy groove, easy tempo kind of stuff. Highly, highly recommended. Great cocktail funk kind of stuff from Armando Trovaioli, reissued on Four Flies, La Famiglia Benvenuti. This was something I was pleased to get not too long ago. This is the soundtrack to an early Brian De Palma flick called Sisters, starring the recently deceased Margot Kidder, and with the really appropriate soundtrack composition by Bernard Herrmann. I say appropriate because if you know Brian De Palma, then you know his affinity for Alfred Hitchcock, and of course Bernard Herrmann did the scores to many of Hitchcock's great films. And so this is really cool. Great movie, cool soundtrack, Sisters by Bernard Herrmann. Here's another Italian crime flick, and another one scored by Ennio Morricone. This one reissued on Dagored. This one I've had for a long time. Just pulled it out recently. As you can see, starring Fabio Testi and Oliver Reed. This has probably one of my favorite tracks by Morricone. It's called Quasi un Vivaldi. I don't know if that means like Vivaldi or in the style of Vivaldi or something like that, but just an absolutely fabulous track and a really, really good soundtrack. Revolver by Ennio Morricone. Oh, so this one's gone. I'm not going to take this one out of the shrink. So this is a film starring Alain Delon, Tony Arzenta, Big Guns, with a soundtrack by Gianni Ferrio, who's done just some absolutely amazing Italian soundtracks. Again, reissued on Easy Tempo. Killer crime, funk soundtrack. yeah, I don't know what else to say. Awesome. Tony Arzenta, Big Guns soundtrack by Johnny Ferrio. Reissue on Easy Tempo. So this was a film in the early 70s, and Hammer was trying to sort of update, earn a younger, hipper audience. This is a reissue to the soundtrack, Dracula, AD 1972. Let me see if I can remember the composer's name on here. Mike Vickers is the guy's name. There's some really good funky numbers on here and stuff. But as you can see, Hammer Films attempting to appeal to a younger, hipper audience. Worth the watch, especially because it stars the luscious Carolyn Monroe. Dracula, AD 1972, reissued on Death Waltz. This is another excellent, excellent Italian soundtrack reissue. Looks like this is to a comedy film, but it's got all the right elements for the soundtrack. The film's called Il Debito Conjugale. Stars, I don't know, a bunch of people I don't know. I know Anita Ekberg, but Barbara Boucher. So this is by E Mark IV, the Mark IV, which is a classic Italian library music group. Did soundtracks, obviously. Reissued on Four Flies. And no poster, but a nice picture sleeve. All of these are limited. All of these are maybe 500, pressing of 500. Some of them are on colored vinyl. I haven't been checking for that, but so be it. This is another Italian soundtrack reissue on Four Flies, Sortileggio. I think I might have shown this one before, now that I think about it. Oh well. Music by Silvano Di Auria. This is great. This soundtrack is really, really freaking good. I think this movie's lost. They have some stills and they maybe have a story outline, but the actual film itself may not have even ever been released. There might have been some financial problems or something, but it's never to be seen potentially unless it turns up somewhere, but highly recommended. This is a soundtrack that, God, I need an original of so bad, but they're $200 and I just can't afford that. This is a reissue on Motion Sound Records, number 169 out of I don't know how many. Excellent 80s electronic horror film score. The Boogeyman. What do you have here? Sort of like a cream colored clear vinyl. Fantastic. I've seen a couple of people recently within the last year or so show originals of this, and of course that just gets me right here, but I have my reissue and I'll just have to make do with that. I'm a big fan of the soundtracks of John Barry. Of course, probably most famous for his soundtracks to James Bond and Midnight Cowboy. But here's another cool soundtrack of his, The Ipcress File. This was a film, a espionage film starring Michael Caine, I believe. Yes. Really, really good stuff. Jazzy, spy kind of stuff from John Barry. Original press on Decca, The Ipcress File. We're getting there. We're almost done. Thanks for hanging in there if you have. So, blaxploitation films are freaking great. I love them. I love the soundtracks. I have a huge collection of them. But one that has eluded me on vinyl, I have the CD, but has eluded me on vinyl for a really, really long time is Foxy Brown. Finally found a really nice copy of it at a really, really good price. These things almost always have ringwear when I see them. This one is really, really nice. Just great, blaxploitation stuff. If you dig this stuff, you'll dig this record. Foxy Brown from Willie Hutch. Two more Morricone soundtracks, and then I'll get out of your hair. both of them to films by Dario Argento. First one, reissued on AMS, Il Gatto a Nove Code, or The Cat of Nine Tails. Another giallo film from Dario Argento, one of his early ones. Again, score from Ennio Morricone. Fantastic. And same deal here with the last one. Early Dario Argento giallo film. Score by Ennio Morricone, reissued on Cinebox, AMS, Quattro Mosche di Velluto Grigio, or Four Flies on Gray Velvet. Killer stuff. Killer pile of records. A real weak spot for me. If you've watched my videos over the years, you know I'm a big fan of soundtracks. So hey, there you go. All soundtracks, no bullshit.